Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stefan Massyn. I shall be representing St. John's, and my poem is called An Attempt at Opposing Despots Using Poetry. Hey, Mr. God King Kim Jong-un, Korea's one and only boon. Oh, I so badly want to see you soon. You're like a big fat cartoon. Nothing's granted when you're around. Having places where food abounds, not hearing my family members hit the ground, not hearing rat-a-tat machine gun sounds, not being chased down by the hounds, being able to walk through our town. None of that's around. No wonder you've got the crown. You don't flounder, you make North Korea sounder. A great place to be, so many things to see, like Camp 23, or Kim Jong's TV, that's KJ's to you and me. And well, in case you can't tell, isn't this swell? I'm being sarcastic. You totally bombastic turd, in the purest sense of both the words. Your little world is absurd. You're like salmon curd. And I've got it on good authority that you've got a propensity to be brain dead, your people to be unfed, and your daddy to be dead. Then there's the Russians, that it's to the old days we should hearken, when LGBT couldn't be seen. Or warm water ports are more important by far than Mr. Assad's sarin, and we're cool with that, madman. Or that election where there was a bit of personal selection. I mean, 140% is giving the UN your consent to pull a Bush senior, to pull a junior and invade, and take away any accolade or claim to fame, and dispute Putin as the president. I mean, who can set a worse precedent than an ex-KGB torturer? Really? You're giving me permission to do my rendition. Hey cue ball, hey oddball, you're supposed to be in politics, not doing shirtless circus tricks. Yes, it is to the old days we should hearken and be a bit more like Stalin. A couple of political shootings couldn't harm anyone. I mean, come on, it'd be fun. Really? You seem to see cronies in Crimea as being Russian territory. Arab Spring, we need a Russian uprising. So, here's a rap rant about the Russians, round 2 in a regular rhyme scheme. How about you stop doing what you're doing and listen to the tune of Mr. Moon telling you to stop doing what you're doing, Mr. Putin? Invading Ukraine? That's insane, but you're doing it again. Georgia, Moldova, doing it all over, or knocking your political opponents over. Let me see. The policy isn't poisoning tea. Tea, that can't be. Actually, it can, horribly and probably, be morally the truth. Mr. Riri, KGB, XCCCP. But BRICS, quick fix, and you're going to need it after New Zealand and the European Union said, no, Putin, stop doing what you're doing. You're not going to get a Soviet reunion. I cannot. Even after 100 hours or 1,000 power showers or roar from my ivory tower, nor empower cowards, nor scour the illegitimate dower of those in power. Only men, women, and children determined can determine whether we can determinedly depose the despots using the power they stole. Freedom for all and viva the prole. Now we must return the power they stole. Blood may be the toll. But may that blood rust the iron curtain and democracy be certain. I, the poet, have tried to depose the despot, but I cannot. Now, it's your turn.
All right. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. 8-9. 8-8-6. 8-8 and another 8-8. It's remember to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, my name is Tamlin Love. I'm Keegan Leech, and this poem is called The Toad and the Frog. The frog, said the frog, is like a toad, but not quite. A frog is a poem.
Toad, replied the toad, is not spelt at all like frog, nor is frog like poem. Ergo, said the toad, frogs are most unlike poems. A frog is a frog is a frog. Gertrude Stein would agree.
When toads sit on lily pads, they sit on lily pads. When frogs sit on lily pads, they ponder, they wonder, they dream. Poetry is what they dream. Seeing more in a shallow pond than toads see in a lucid lake. In frogs, there is poetry.
No, foolish frog, there is prose. You're an amphibian, not a poem. Call a spade and a frog a frog.
I see more. There is a soul beneath the slime, and grace in the spastic spring, yearning in the grotesquerie.
Pah! At best, the frog is an appetizer in a French restaurant. Why anthropomorphize your food?
Frogs are more than food for the mouth. Frogs are food for the mind, for the soul. Frogs are poetry, and poetry is more than what is seen, what is heard, what is felt. Poetry is more. Frogs are more.
Toads are green with black spots.
Frogs are obsidian-flecked jade.
Toads ribbit.
Frogs lament. Tenor voices in pond-rippling harmony.
Words, words, words. Keep your empty words. Us toads prefer fuller meals.
You seek fuller meals? Come and dine on poetry. There is your fulfillment.
Really? Catch me a fly with your silver tongue and I'll believe you. Poetry makes nothing happen. Words are pipe dreams, nothing more. Toads do not dream. We are too sensible for that.
Frogs dream. They dream of a princess's satin skin and a kiss of consummation. Frogs dream of being princes.
Frogs will always be frogs.
Perhaps, but they dream all the same.
I'm done with dreams, replied the toad. Toads are toads, and that's the last of it.
And so, said the frog, frogs are like toads, but not quite. In frogs, there is poetry.
All right, it's time for your scores. 8-3, 8-3, 8-2, 8-6, 8-8. Good job, SJC. My boy with the swagger.
As you know, I'm Keegan Leech, and this poem is called Marvin Pike. Marvin Pike was old, man, like crumbling brickwork, like cobwebs and dusty skulls that used to be King Richard or Littlefoot or Lucy, or shriveled Tutankhamun, mummified old. And boy was he tough, hard, like nails down a blackboard could old mad Marv Pike sit all day and gripe and moan about the kids, the goddamn kids who walked around like they owned the place. Still green, but he could see it in their eyes. Look at me, boy. You think you know everything, don't you? Well, Marvin Pike had outlived nursing homes. He had spent years seeing the world. And to hell with these upstarts who thought they could see it too. Oh, and he had friends, old drinking buddies long dead, who would have backed him up. They had smoked long before the ad, doctors recommend Camel, and they had walked out of operating theatres, puffing away new lungs. They had cut their hands ragged, whittling pipes with penknives, and they had fought the modern world, the progress of health and safety. Men like Marvin Pike had wars under their belts. They had swapped literal war stories, jokes about their times in My Lai, in Dresden, in Berlin, or on the Somme. And you, born decades later, born when a good fight was no longer appreciated. What could you possibly know that these men didn't? And if you'd asked Marvin Pike, a man who lived on that knife edge between the aged and the dead, so steeped in tradition that he reeked like an alcoholic of liquor, what do we need? We need, he would reply, more sons saying sir to more fathers saying boy, because that's how you do it. That's how you produce more men like Marvin Pike.
All right. There we go. We got a 7-9. We got an 8. We got an 8-5. You got an 8-5, and you got an 8-4. Good job. All right. You read it, right? Okay. 2. Yes. All right. Judges, the topic chosen is the purple people eater. That's crazy, I know.
Everyone knows the purple people eater, the most terrifying rhyme ever taught to children.
That really disgusting, awful rhyme.
A story about a big creature crawling out from under your bed to eat the children. A good bedtime story, I think you'll agree.
Grotesque, horrifying, and an awful shade of violet. This horrible monster was happily taught to our kids from a young age.
When I was young, my nightmares were the colour purple.
Imagine Barney's really scary Down syndrome brother, and you multiply that by 1,000.
And this was the guy who you were meant to sing about and laugh about.
You were meant to love him. Do you love nightmares?
I can't speak for the sadomasochists in this room, but I certainly don't.
Let's go for the game. You got a checkmate at the back there. You got a 8-5. You got an 8-3. You got an 8-2. You got an 8-8, and you got an 8-2. Good job, SAC.